Howdy all. So, I'm just kicking back, chilling. It's now the 31st, so it's New Year's Eve. I come across a video a couple of days ago, I think it was Friday evening, and just come up on my auto feed. And it was another channel that is coming up with some suggestions that a particular manosphere content creator, who I will mention, because it's obviously just talking about them, and I've got a few things to say about the subject, I suppose, being another manosphere content creator, and just, I suppose, just bringing back to reality where things are at. So this video is giving Human, the content creator, a bit of a verbal slag down, as it were, on their video, basically saying that he's well, the words they used was scam artist, right? I wouldn't necessarily say it goes as far as that, but the one thing that I will say in all of this is I had noticed a drop in the quality of videos that he had been making over the last sort of year in particular, I would say. And I'm not saying that to criticize any work that he's put into making videos. What I'm saying is, when you start getting involved with someone and you're a content creator, that side of it, whether you like it or not, starts to reflect on the quality of the videos that you kick out, generally speaking, as a content creator, right? And I'd noticed this. I'd noticed his the change in his stance, I suppose, towards the topics that he was talking about then of recent. So I think it was probably a few months ago when he sort of like said to the audience, yes, he's seeing someone outside, in real life, sort of a thing. Now this does two things to people. It disappoints them, for starters, and with disappointment comes that huge feeling of letdown. And then there's been sort of like a bit of, I suppose, backlash from his audience or his subscribers, and then there's been backlash from him for getting backlash from the audience. And I think this is where it divides people up. And this is also, even in the past, like Human has said, he tends to steer away a bit from men going their own way topics. Not necessarily topics, but I think he means more the mentality of going his own way. And the same with what we will refer to as red pill content. So I think when he's been in a few videos where he has sort of like given the audience a bit of jip because they've aired their opinion on the situation, and it is that sort of thing. I remember watching one of the videos of recent, and he was just sort of like, stop blaming everyone else for your own shortcomings, sort of thing, to the audience in general. And the thing is, like, what I suppose, like, the bottom line to all of that is, I think you've got, as a content creator, you've got a couple of options as to which path you can take with your audience and your subscribers. You can be honest and upfront with them, which is what I try and do. I've all the time that I've spoken about MGtOW and red pill content, it's for the most part I've been out of relationships. And then, the sort of funny thing to that is when a relationship comes to an end, as a content creator, this is, you do find yourself reflecting back, and then a lot of time you've got something else to talk about on the channel, whether it's another set of mannerisms or just a different observation of patterns of behaviour, and something you feel might be worth talking about. And there's also an issue with doing this as well, is a lot of the time, you know, doing that sort of a thing, a lot of the time, if I suppose the ex knows you have a channel and knows you are a content creator and, you know, these are the topics that you talk about, well, I mean, for starters, I'd say it probably puts a lot of chicks on edge, you know, as to whether they can date someone that's got that kind of mentality. I mean, basically, what you're saying, if they are aware of the channel and your views and everything else, they'll probably see the relationship as more of a struggle in the long run. Probably not think it's really worthwhile pursuing for them, right? Especially if they've got certain mannerisms or certain ways about them, you know, which you have strong boundaries against. A lot of the time they just won't entertain it. But like I say, once you've been in a relationship as a content creator and you come out of a relationship, you tend to double down a bit more on some of the stances that you might have had previous, which I think is only natural, you know, because it's that thing of like where you've been, sorry to use the expression for what it is, but you've been hurt again, right? And so as a content creator, you can end up wanting to talk about it. But that's after a relationship. During a relationship, a lot of the time you haven't really got a great deal to say. And, you know, more often than not, and, you know, you could argue in some cases it's kind of what I've done on some of my videos when I try and get men to become a better version of themselves in some way, shape or form, you know, for the greater good of the individual. And the thing with doing that is a lot of people can be confusing that with, you know, giving out dating advice, you know, in the sense, whereas like what type of a guy chicks are gonna be looking for, or what type of chick are gonna be looking for what type of guy. Despite ironically yours truly here falling out of a lot of the categories when it comes to at least online dating and what people see and say they want, you know, I don't meet the usual sort of criteria that the average modern woman looks for, which is I've got to be above 6 foot, earning you know, 6 figures, and have a six pack. Well, no, I'm just short of 6 foot. I'm definitely not on triple figures, and these days I've got a party barrel and not a six pack. I just don't work out anymore. But whatever. It's one of them. So I get that is a thing, and that isn't like a feel sorry for me sort of thing. It's like, no, that's what it is. Like, I've always accepted that situation being what it is. I don't belong in a air quotes normal society. You know, like a lot of the chicks that you see on dating apps, they generally speaking don't date guys like me, and I accept that. It's fine, right? And I'm not even bitter about it. It's just people like what they like, and you know, if you fall into a certain category or a certain type of guy with certain lifestyle or clothing or religious beliefs or whatever the case may be, you know, you got to accept that sometimes, you know, having these lifestyles or beliefs or whatever, you do cut yourself short of a lot of things. It is what it is, you know. What would you want to do? Blend in and walk like a duck, act like a duck, and quack like a duck, right? To pinch one of human sayings. But I think what happened with Human, when he sort of got a bit temperamental with the audience because they were giving him a bit of shit, and he sort of threw out oh well, fine, unsubscribe, I don't care. And it's like, well, you kind of should. And this is what I'm saying, where the sort of tough part for everyone is, like how I see it. And I get that I might be slightly comparing apples and oranges here, you know, a low subscriber channel compared to someone like Human who's got like, I don't know how many thousands, like, I don't even look anymore, but I think he's got like over 100,000 to be fair. But here's the thing, you see, all the time you're talking about the similar sort of topics that the rest of the guys know you're on about, and you're on the same page as them, then that's fine and that's not a problem. And I get that, like, like I was saying earlier, like some content creators, they kind of try and alienate themselves away from like red pill content and MGtOW and all that, because they don't want the burden that, you know, it carries. And look, being realistic, there have been plenty of channels in both them sectors, even though they are kind of on the same branch, they are still kind of different. You know, red pill is more having the knowledge and, I suppose, forewarning in some cases of dating and relationships and so on. Red pill is having the knowledge, and then the actually going your own way is just I suppose it's not. I wouldn't say it's a remedy. Some people call it a solution or a remedy. I don't think it actually is. I don't think it solves the problem for everyone. You know, you can go your own way and have a strong stance on it as much as you want. I would still probably argue the fact that, you know, as the saying goes in the manosphere, most of us are only one BJ away from going back to the plantation. Simple as that. You know, going back into um, relationships and stuff like that. One of the other things that has been said repeatedly about the sort of MGtOW crowd, as it were, you know, is that a lot of the time they've got these mindsets because it's their coping mechanism. I suppose to a degree, maybe people that say that sometimes might be right in some cases. I think that would be a fair observation. And it kind of is a coping method in a way. And I'm not justifying guys that go out there and, you know, deliberately berate and belittle people unnecessarily. If they've done something stupid, they deserve it, or they act a certain way, and maybe someone felt it should be called out, then maybe it should be called out. You know, fair enough. Hell no, hell knows that guys have always been held to a higher standard than women anyway. So I don't see why it should be so much of a problem. But obviously the women don't like it because it means calling them out on their bullshit, and, you know, they don't like it. But when it comes to being a content creator, you know, this is the hard part for anyone within the manosphere. You know, I'm sure that there are channels out there that they do keep their relationships separate. I've seen it with much larger channels, like I say, in particular, like life coaches and stuff like that. You know, a lot of the time they're dishing out red pill content, and they're always, you know, saying about how men should be better off going their own way. In the meanwhile, right? In the meanwhile, they've got a girlfriend that they're engaged to. Probably this has been discovered. Has been a thing before. It's not about calling guys out, right? It's not a personal beef between me and them, but I will talk on it. It's Coach Greg Adams. You know, there he was. I watched his stuff for about a year or something like that, and then that came about that he had a missus behind the scenes and all that, and I'm just sort of like, yeah, great, and another one telling all the men all the things that they need to look out for, and there you are doing the exact opposite of what you're telling your audience to do. It's like, come on. Like, and then you get angry when people lose faith in you and they don't see you in the same light anymore. It's like, of course they're going to do that. Like, in this case, because I'm obviously talking about a human, like I'll follow this channel probably for about 8 years now, and generally speaking, I've enjoyed the content, you know. But like I say, when a content creator gets involved in a relationship, and in specifically a manosphere one, you notice it more. Like, so I remember watching his videos about a year ago, or maybe a bit longer, might have been a year and a half, and I noticed there was that drop in quality. There was that drop in the way he was presenting the videos, and I thought, yeah, maybe he's just having a bit of a, you know, he had a bit of a hard year the year before last, if I recall correctly. You know, had a bit of a hard time in that, and you know, so you start cutting people a bit of slack, right? Then it turns out they've gone out and got a girlfriend, and it's like, oh well, look at me now that I've got a girlfriend. And it's like, if you're my audience and you disagree with my choices, and then you're the problem because you're dirty, messy, and unwashed, and you've got pizza boxes all over your house. And it's like, bro, really? Like, you know, you gotta expect some some flack in return. I mean, and this is another reason why I've never felt it. I've never felt. It's never sat comfortably with me. If I was to turn around and monetize my channel and start buying all the equipment, and maybe I could produce better content. Maybe I could use software on a laptop and, you know, edit the videos better and stuff like that, right? But the thing is, out of my own skyrocket, I'm not going to invest, because I don't deem it as worth my time. I don't have enough of a subscriber base. You know, I don't get enough views per video to merit any of that. However, if the shoe was on the other foot, and I was in a situation where my subscribers were constantly making donations and signing up to the channel, and I was making a lot more videos, even then, I wouldn't want to get involved financially with the audience. And the reason for that, and I think this is where some of the problem could potentially come from, is, you see, if you're, as a subscriber, if you invest in someone financially, you know, you kind of have an expectation. And even if it's imaginary, even if it's only in your own head, right, you can have a certain level of expectation of the type of content. And also with that, with having said that, is the image that people build up of content creators in their mind. You know, they view them as like idols. And when I say idols, I mean idols, not idols. I'm not talking about like AI girlfriend or some shit like that. I've heard it's come a long way over the last couple of years. And apparently the idols are better than the real thing and better than the girlfriends. They don't argue back or anything, apparently. But anyway, all jokes aside, that's my point, though. It's like the subscribers tend to idolize and treat the content creators more like a rock star of some description, when in reality, or some like demigod or goddess or whatever the case, right? And so when that content creator fails to live up to the expectation of the viewer, of any given individual viewer, you know, and they end up with, you know, so they've been funding the channel for like even 6 months or something like that, you know, and say you've come out of a sketchy relationship or whatever, right, tail end of a bad relationship breakup or something. And then you found a channel like Humans, and you started investing in it, and then, you know, you see the positivity, and you're hearing the messages and all of that, and you start, you know, funding it, and you start thinking to yourself, well, you got the same sort of mentality. And then, you know, say for argument's sake, 1.5 years later, the content creator decides he wants to get involved with someone, and then goes against the grain of everything that he'd been parroting for the last 10 years or so. You know, I assume he's been creating content for about that long. But this is just it. When that happens, you know, and it's like, there's no way of getting around it. I think, being a manosphere content creator, like, you can say that you don't identify as red pill, or you don't identify as going your own way or anything like that. It doesn't matter. Once you've been categorized in that boat, you're in that boat, and that's it. You don't get to choose what you are, right? That's not a privilege you have, right? The audience gets to choose that, right? And if, like I say, if you've been creating content for the best part of 10 years and it's always gone contra what your actions are doing now, and again, this is something that a lot of us in the manosphere have said time and time again, and we usually use it in the context of, like, you know, don't listen to what women say, watch what they do, right? Actions speak louder than words. The exact same goes for content creators. You know, that's why I've always said, like, I have not, I mean, I'm not lonely. How can I put this? I'm not lonely enough to just want to, you know, grab the first person that passes by for a relationship. You know, the first opportunity I get, I'm not going to take it just to be in a relationship. At the same time, if I'm in a situation, say like what Human is in, and he met someone, got talking to him, and so on. Which again is a perfectly normal thing to do. You got to remember, as subscribers to the channels, and you know, worshippers in some cases of some of the content creators, you got to remember they are still human and they do still have needs. And no pun intended with, you know, still being human. My point being is that's probably been the one thing, and it's also why he might have been getting a bit, you know, larity in his videos of recent as well, actually, because it's the one thing, whether he's in it for the bedroom activity or whether he's in it for the companionship, that's entirely down to him. That's really not really anyone's business, right? At the end of the day, I understand and I get the level of I suppose irony, and I suppose what could be seen as a kick in the cojones to the subscribers, when you do go ahead and get a girlfriend, and then you got people busting your balls in the comment section or whatever, or if you're doing a live stream, you got some of your perhaps paid members, I don't know, busting your balls over your current decisions, and then you're telling them, you know, it's that thing where if you don't like it, fuck off, right? And again, this is where the problem is. It's like, if it's people that have actually invested in you financially, then it's different. I see that as being another kind of like transactional relationship, even though it's not a direct relationship with a subscriber. You know, they are paying you because you produce a certain type of content which they enjoy watching. But the thing is, if you're acting like a duck, walking like a duck, and quacking like a duck on your channel, and then in the meanwhile, you're going on the side to see Chicky Poo, which has been, all right, Chicky Poo can be anyone, but it could potentially be one of the chicks you're going to be talking about next, potentially. You know, it doesn't have to be. But and again, I'm not saying that content creators even would go as far as getting involved just to put out the bad points of a relationship so they've got something to talk about. I wouldn't put that past people either. I think that's a very low thing to do, but you know, it is what it is. Because it's like with me, it's not about it when I talk about personal experiences. It's not about, you know, degrading, berating, or belittling the people that were involved. It's not about that. It's more to do with, these are the type of actions that seem to be quite commonplace. This is what you need to look out for. This is what tends to happen, and this is a situation that I was aware of, or I was in, or whatever the case, right? I don't go out and get involved with people purely for the basis of waiting for the damn thing to fail just so I can whinge about it. It's like, no, absolutely not. At the same time, I know full well as a content creator that misery loves company, and you know, people are more likely to be attracted to listen to the doom and gloom of a relationship rather than how happy you are since you found Chicky Poo. I'm just saying. It is what it is, right? It is what you can't escape it. But I wouldn't necessarily, like this other channel did. I'll have a look if I can find it again, and I'll throw a link in the description. But I wouldn't go as far as saying what this other channel was saying. They're sort of like, oh yeah, he's a con artist and all of this sort of thing. He's a scammer. I see where they're coming from, because on the one hand, he does come across as, you know, like I say, you don't, as a content creator, you don't get to choose what category you fall in. You don't, right? If you've spoken about RP and MGtOW, you're falling in that category, whether you like it or not, right? You also get thrown into the I'm trying to think. It's the MRAs. They usually throw us in with that one as well. They usually throw us in as men's right activists, even if you're not. You know, I consider myself an advocate. I wouldn't say activist, but you know, they don't seem to care what camp they throw people in either. So I think it just doesn't matter. As long as everyone's got a box that they can label as misogynist, that's all they seem to care about it. But whatever. That's all they can do is sit back and call people names all day. That's about fucking right. It's about the gist of it, isn't it? But anyway, as I'm now hit about 25 minutes. But yeah, and you know, I suppose to wrap up 2023 going into 2024, I think one of the things that audiences, you know, across the manosphere, one of the things that I think they need to realise, despite there usually is a level of disappointment when one of their favourite content creators decides that, like in this case, getting involved in a relationship might be a good idea. And it might be. The thing is, you don't know, right? But I get totally where the audience is coming from, where they're disheartened and disenfranchised, probably, especially if they've been paying into it, you know. And then not only that, but when human starts get given a bit of shit, and he responds with, "Oh, it's your mindset, it's your attitude, it's the way you dress, it's the way you look, it's your dirty flat or whatever," right? You've got to remember the battle that's going on there at the same time. He's trying to justify to himself his actions, the stuff he knows. He knows he's in the wrong, like kind of, and kind of is and kind of isn't, right? He's allowed to change his mind, is what I'm saying, right? He can absolutely change his mind. You know, if he wants to have a relationship, that's entirely up to him, right? Like I say, the problem starts is when you've got people that have invested into your channel, and they don't necessarily have to invest financially. Even just being an unpaid subscriber or a regular viewer can be enough, because it will, you know, help the video get seen elsewhere. So you're going to upset the audience because you've been saying about, you know, you've been quacking like a MGtOW red pill duck for so long that everyone probably thought that you were MGtOW red pill. And then when a bird comes along, you know, obviously the content style changes, the message kind of doesn't change a great deal, but it does but doesn't. It gets watered down, I suppose, at best. And then when your audience calls you out on it, you tell them that it's their problem. It's like that's a bit low. And again, it's just all he's trying to do is defend his stance and the decisions he's made. You know, it's really no different to when a girl cheats on a guy in a relationship. It's not. Think about it. They don't blame themselves. They blame the guy. You know, so in this case, it's like, well, he wants to have his cake and eat it, and I can't blame him for that, right? He wants to be a content creator in the manosphere and talk about the stuff that he does, but, you know, realistically speaking, you can't do that when you're in a relationship, because you haven't got the mindset anymore that the rest of the audience have, you know? I mean, you're not going to lose every single subscriber overnight. That's not going to happen either. You know, you're going to have your sort of like your loyal, diehard fans and subscribers and stuff. At the same, I don't think insulting the audience or insulting those that are giving you a bit of jip because you've gone against the grain of everything you've been speaking about for the last 10 years. You can't not have the ump with them either. So you can't win in this case. You can't win for losing, right? So all right, so you break off the relationship, right? So say he chooses that path. So he breaks off the relationship. He's yelling at the arsehole with his subscribers that he's broken a relationship for, right? To keep the channel going, to keep his audience happy. The audience, on the grand scheme of things, won't give a fuck anyway, because if they meet someone the day after, guarantee they're going to be pursuing them most of the time. They'll start. It's what we do, man. Let's just be real about this, right? Let's just have that honest conversation. So he'll then end up begrudging the same audience that would just, you know, drop him like a lead weight, just the same as they're seeing him as dropping them as a lead weight by getting involved with someone, right? Or he carries on doing what he's doing, which he's well entitled to do. He can have his relationship and he can have his channel. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. It's his life. It's his channel. It's his, you know, it's down to him. Absolutely. Whether he still gains the same sort of respect and view from the subscribers is a different matter. That could well change. Some will be really happy for him, and some will be like, well, hopefully it works out for you this time, you know, like it's that thing, you know. It sounds so shit when you put it like that, because I think that about my own relationships. Like when I start meeting people and it might work this time. Yeah, might and this time. Yeah, might work implies that it might not because of past experiences, and this time, well, same again. You know, I'm just saying, right? It's not that I'm a negative Ned or something like that. It's just all these things need to be taken into consideration. But like I say, I think this is where that thing in it will be hard to find, because people are all different. You know, it's finding that level of respect between the content creator and the audience, and the audience needing to let the content creator also have a life outside of it. At the same time, I do find it somewhat hypocritical. You know, that's unavoidable. It's unavoidable. Look, most of us are hypocrites in one way or another. It is what it is, right? We all say things, and I'm probably sometimes one of the worst for it. I'm just a complete ball of contradictions sometimes. Say one thing, do the exact fucking opposite the next. But it is subjective, right? I don't want to come across as having no consistency whatsoever. That's not quite how it goes. But yeah, to think that I'd see this on the way out of 2023 into 2024, you know, see a content creator go down this path, especially at Christmas as well. That's sometimes that's when your audience needs you the most. I'm trying to make him feel guilty now. I'm busting his balls. You're supposed to feel bad for the audience. A lot of the audience don't have girlfriends and stuff like that, and then there's you with, you know, shacked up with your new missus and all that, and there you are calling your subscribers dirty and unwashed and pizza boxes left all over the house. Really, bro? Like, are you sure running around in the mud is the best way to get clean? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. But whatever. But no, it'll be an interesting one, man. I mean, I think, like I say, personally, I'd kind of gone off his content about a year ago. I used to be able to watch his videos in full without a problem. Like, I'd sit there for like half an hour doing whatever, and I'd just listen to it. These days, I can barely fathom like 20 minutes of it. I just can't deal with it. It's just sort of like I can hear too much of the simpiness coming out. You know, and he's you know, starts talking differently about women again compared to what he has been. It's sort of like, you're only doing that because you got a girlfriend. Oh my god, such a sellout. Anyway, I'm wrapping this one up. Guys, I hope you all have a great end of 2023, and hopefully 2024 will be a much better year for all of us. And I will keep you posted in the update. You know what, I'll try and do some more videos as well, maybe, since I'm using a new one now. I still haven't managed to cut down my time, you can see that. I apologise for that one as well. So, anyway, thanks all for watching and listening, much appreciated. And until the next one, stay cool, stay free, have a fantastic, fucking awesome 2023 New Year's Eve party if you're having one. To all those that applies, you might be able to find me in a maze, on the top of a maze bank in a lobby in San Andreas somewhere when the time is right. Until then, stay cool, stay free, peace out.